Hi, AniQuest here. This is my recap for the anime Kaiju No. If you dig my recaps, don't forget to subscribe and smash that notification bell. The story starts in this chill city that gets straight up attacked by this monster called Kaiju. The emergency Kaiju alarm goes off all over the city, and people gotta hustle to safety spots. This thing is massive, wrecking everything in its path. So the defense force rolls up and starts blasting at it. This ain't the first time humanity's dealt with this crap, so peeps watching are waiting to see which division of the defense force gonna show up. And it's the 3rd division, and they swoop in ready to wreck that Kaiju. One girl from the division comes in packing this huge cannon, and she uses its crazy power to straight up blast a hole through the Kaiju, taking it out like a boss. After all that, our main dude Kafka is straight up amazed at the size of that monster. Body parts scattered everywhere. He tells his crew they're gonna be working overtime for a while. That's for sure. The nearby citizens cheer for the 3rd division, cause they finished their mission with no casualties. Kafka walks over, blown away by the crowd that gathered. While the heroes walk away from the defeated monster, Kafka heads towards it, because his job ain't done when the battle ends. Him and his crew do the dirty work that nobody cares about and nobody appreciates. They gotta take apart the defeated Kaijus and dispose of them. Kafka does his thing, taking a sample of the monster and stashing it in a drone. Their job ain't flashy like fighting the beast, but it's a different kind of battle in its own way. That becomes crystal clear when Kafka spots someone messing with something they shouldn't and it freaking explodes, hurting someone. Luckily, Kafka's dealt with injuries like that before, so he handles the situation. These dudes got a ton of work ahead of them, and Kafka's pissed that the bosses want them to clean up this massive mess in just 1 week. Just then, Kafka gets told he gotta go to a different area cause they short-staffed, and he's shocked cause they sending him to the intestines. Kafka gets dragged away, and the others start talking about how messed up the intestines are. Kafka arrives at the intestines and instantly loses his appetite, but he's a hard worker, so he pushes through the discomfort and gets the job done. That night, Kafka gets home dead tired, and he tries to get rid of the stench from work. He catches a news report about Division 3 and their captain named Mina. This girl's only 27, and she ain't just a captain. She's slayed hundreds of kaiju. Looking back shows that she and Kafka used to be tight, and she was all up in her feelings when they made a promise to kick Kaiju's ass together. Now Mina's blowing up big time and everybody's talking about her being a top contender for commander of the defense force. Kafka's wondering how the hell he ended up on the flip side of things, but he ain't trying to dwell on it cause that shit's too damn depressing. He tells himself that cleanin' is a legit important gig that helps people. Plus, he gets to grub on his favorite foods and has an apartment he's cool with. Kafka figures that this should be enough, and just goes to sleep. The next morning, Kafka rolls up to work and gets introduced to this part-time student who's joining their crew. Dude's name's Ichikawa, and he's dead set on joining the defense force. Kafka's coworker points out that Kafka had the same dream as him, but Kafka straight up gave up and became a veteran at the cleaning company. Ichikawa's wondering why Kafka quit, so Kafka admits he realized his abilities had limits. Dude tried his best, but there's always someone who's better. Kafka tries to keep a positive mindset, but Ichikawa ain't playing. He straight up declares he ain't never gonna give up, no matter what, so he can't wrap his head around Kafka's logic. He don't even want to understand, so he just bounces to change his clothes. Everybody thought they'd be tight cause they shared the same dream, but Kafka's fuming cause he knows there ain't no way to answer the kid's question without looking like a miserable wreck. Kafka's forced to do some soul searching and wonders if quitting is really that damn bad. They all head to work and go over the plan for the day. They decide which parts they gotta keep for research and which ones they gotta straight up destroy. Ichikawa gets stuck with the intestines. Kafka's kinda stoked cause the kid's got a dope attitude. But then he realizes he's gotta deal with intestines again for the 2nd damn day in a row. They say it's cause he's a pro at handling the shit. So Kafka swears he's gonna show everyone what he's made of. The boss calls out Kafka for all his damn complaints, but also gives props for being a hard-ass worker. If he passed the exam, he would have been a kick-ass defense force officer. Later, Kafka's happy as hell to see Ichikawa getting grossed out by the intestine mess. But he's dealing with the same nasty shit and trying not to puke. That's when Kafka notices the kid ain't brought much grub. Ichikawa gets all rude, saying he ain't hungry. But Kafka hands him a vitamin drink and insists he eats and drinks as much as he can. Otherwise, he ain't gonna make it through the damn workday. Kafka even offers him some nose plugs. Ichikawa turns them down, but Kafka keeps pushing, swearing it'll help him out. At the end of the damn workday, everybody gets cleaned up and one crew dips out first. Kafka's stoked cause the worst part of the cleanup should be done with. Then Ichikawa rolls up, and Kafka thinks he wants a damn rematch from their little wrestling match, but Ichikawa shocks him by actually thanking him for helping him get through the day. Before bouncing, Ichikawa mentions that the Defense Force changed the age limit to join. It's now 33 years old. Ichikawa knows that it's none of his business, but he could tell that Kafka looks sad when he talked about the Defense Force earlier. Ichikawa straight up tells him he can quit if he wants to though. But Kafka thanks him and says Ichikawa's a better dude than he thought. Ichikawa tries to keep up his edgy act, so he reminds Kafka that he doesn't actually care. But then out of nowhere, a freaking monster pops up and goes after him. Kafka swoops in and saves his ass just in the nick of time. But Kafka's all messed up. Ichikawa's shocked by the so-called Yaju, and Kafka's gotta save his sorry ass from getting wiped out again. Kafka tells him to haul ass and get help, but he refuses to leave Kafka. Kafka reminds him he's supposed to join the Defense Force, but he can't do anything if he's dead. Kafka demands again that Ichikawa splits, so finally he does. Kafka leads the terrifying beast on a wild chase through the streets, barely dodging its attacks. He manages to get a breather by ducking into a narrow building, busts through a pane of glass, and manages to lose the monster for a hot second. Flashback time. Kafka and Mina both lost their schools and homes. Kafka was pissed at the kaiju, but only cause they kept him from finishing his Pokemon game. Mina's disappointed cause that's all he cares about, but Kafka's trying to stay positive. As for Mina, she's sad cause her cat named Miyako died. They both get serious as they stare at all the destruction caused by the kaiju, and they both decided at the same damn time to join the Defense Force. They start dissing each other for this crazy idea because they're both so damn young. But eventually, they decide to have a competition to see who can become the coolest officer. Kafka was hella confident they could pull it off and declared they'd wipe out all the kaiju together. Back to the present, Kafka realizes shit ain't supposed to go down like this. But he gotta keep hauling ass because the monsters are straight up demolishing buildings to get to him. Kafka decides to stand up to the monster, thinking he must go for its legs. But damn, he doesn't stand a chance because the monster straight up attacks him right away. Kafka's thinking, why the hell did it have to end up like this? He screams in pure agony as the monster stomps on him, breaking his damn leg. Kafka's lost all hope because the monster's about to eat him. But out of nowhere, Ichikawa swoops in and saves his sorry ass just in the nick of time. Kafka calls him an idiot, but Ichikawa explains he already called the Defense Force for backup. Kafka meant he was an idiot for coming back in the first place, but Ichikawa points out that if he had abandoned Kafka, he would never be able to become a Defense Force officer. That's when Kafka has flashbacks to when he got that rejection letter from the Defense Force and saw his dreams go up in smoke. He straight up curses himself for being so freaking useless while Ichikawa gets thrashed by the monster. Kafka's pissed cause he ain't changed at all. He couldn't even protect his friend's cat, and now he can't even protect the new kid at work. His frustration builds up, and he lets out a primal scream of rage just as the beast is about to wipe out Ichikawa. But out of nowhere, the monster gets blown to freaking pieces, leaving both dudes shocked. Then this female voice announces that the target's been wiped out, and Kafka's blown away when he sees Mina rolling up with the 3rd Division crew. She has her squad take care of the injured peeps, while she and the others go check for more monsters. They check on Kafka, but he's in rough shape and not responding. That night at Yokohama Hospital, Kafka's mind is blown by how freaking amazing Mina's become. She straight up obliterated that terrifying monster in an instant. Kafka realizes she's gone to a place he can never reach. He thought he was all alone, but then he's shocked to find out Ichikawa's right next to him. Ichikawa points out that if Kafka hadn't rescued him and told him to run, he would be dead right now. Kafka's even more shocked when Ichikawa says he's cool. Kafka thinks about their competition to be the coolest officer. Ichikawa thinks Kafka should be an officer, but once again says it's up to him. Kafka snaps out of his negative mindset and straight up punches himself, wondering how long he was gonna keep looking the other way. He thanks Ichikawa and tells the kid he's a damn good person. Kafka still ain't thinking giving up is a bad move, but he knows damn well he can't fool himself. So he steps up and confidently declares he's gonna aim to be a Defense Force officer once again. But before he can bask in his heroic declaration, he gets a rude awakening when he's freaking shocked to see a monster hovering above him. This freaking thing says it's found him and shoves itself right into Kafka's mouth. Ichikawa wonders if he is okay, but Kafka's clearly not good, gasping for air and thrashing around like a haunted. Ichikawa checks on him, and he's straight up shocked to find a monster in Kafka's bed. Kafka just casually looks at Ichikawa and then casually checks out his own reflection. Eventually, the shock hits them both, so Kafka tries to calm Ichikawa down, telling him it's just him. Ichikawa chills out. But then some old dude shows up and calls the defense force. Both dudes start freaking out, thinking about what the defense force does to kaiju, so they're panicking like crazy. Ichikawa tells Kafka to haul ass and run. Another flashback shows Kafka teaching Mina how to take down a kaiju. He schools her on attacking the legs and tying the sucker up. Mina's scared as hell at the thought of fighting a monster, so Kafka promises her he'll be right there by her side when the time comes. Back to the present, Mina's thinking about how that was all a lie. But then she gets the news that a kaiju's been spotted at Yokohama Hospital, and she declares that she'll handle it. She's gonna roll out with her officers and straight up eliminate that kaiju. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to not miss the next part.